Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking through. Today we're going to talk about LinkedIn, and I have a friend, Razy, with me today. I'll leave the introduction to him, but I'll just do a quick introduction. He runs his own agency, Two Stallions, and does many other things as well. He has a lot of experience with LinkedIn, so I've done some videos about LinkedIn before, but today I'm going to actually have him share more about his thoughts on LinkedIn, and we have about 4 sets of questions out that we will discuss today. So if you have any questions at any part of this video, do remember to drop a comment below. So I'm Charmaine, founder of Sky Digital Agency, and I have Razy. Please, over to you, Razy.
Thanks, Charmaine. Thank you for having me on this segment today. So as Charmaine mentioned, my name is Razy. I run an agency called Two Stallions. We've been running in Singapore for the past 8 years. We've got clients from all over the region. We work with brands like AXA. We work with brands like Stanley Black & Decker. We've done work for UOB. And we're running campaigns right now for like a large Japanese insurance company. So we do the full spectrum of digital marketing services. And like Charmaine mentioned, I do a bunch of other things as well, including coaching, mentoring, and guiding some workshops for government officials in the region as well.
Yeah, I thought your Ministry of Foreign Affairs one was quite interesting.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I was able to squeeze in one last training session and in February. So I went to Qatar to do one on the future of work. And that was actually the last trip and the last flight that I took before we went into lockdown. So that one has a special space in my memory.
I also managed to squeeze in a trip to Mauritius for a 3-day training.
Oh, when was that?
February. I came back on 18th Feb.
Nice. I think I came back maybe around the same time.
Yeah. At that point of time, I already had to wear mask because it was a layover when we came back from KL. I mean, they stopped over KL before flying over Singapore. From Singapore, it was direct flight to Mauritius.
Nice. I had someone from Mauritius, somebody from one of the ministries from Mauritius who was attending my class in Qatar.
Today, we're going to talk about LinkedIn. So we're going to start with some questions first, and then if you'd like me to pull up the slides that you're prepared, just let me know, okay?
Ken, sounds good.
Okay, so first off, the questions that we have about LinkedIn. Of course, there are 2 ways to use it. One for personal branding and the other as business. So we'll start off with maybe we talk from a business point of view first. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can share as a business, how much effort should a company look at in LinkedIn marketing?
Well, it's a very, this question can be it's got a huge answer, right? So I think if you're a business, we should look into LinkedIn for, especially if you're a new business or you're still trying to find your foothold in your industry, you should look at LinkedIn for building some credibility. You should use it to demonstrate some thought leadership. You should be using it to build brand awareness, and for any product or service business, you want to generate leads, right? So those are the 4 things that a business should be using LinkedIn for. So like, for example, when someone approaches me to work with my agency, or they want me to take a look at coming up with a marketing strategy for them, I will go to LinkedIn and see the size of that company. So I'll go into their LinkedIn page. I'll see how many employees they have. I'll see when were they established, and I'll see some of the posts that they have made. So if the company doesn't have any of these, it makes me question the size of the company and whether or not they are very serious about the business, for example. So that's something that I do in my research whenever I try and look for companies' credibility. What was the other part of your question again, Charmaine?
How much effort should they put in? So like, mention like what they should post to build their credibility, but how much effort do you think they should put in compared to other social medias available? How important is LinkedIn?
I would say at the current, if you look at all the social media platforms that are available currently, right, we always talk about how organic reach is dead, or organic reach is very difficult to achieve. You know, that's like so many articles have been written about the death of organic social. So I'd say currently on LinkedIn, I think you've demonstrated with your other videos where if your post is of good quality, it provides value to your audience, it can actually reach a huge audience. So LinkedIn to me is like how Facebook was maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, where if my post is good, I have a few friends who like it. Slowly, it starts showing up in the timeline of the other friends. And then even if I have just 100 friends or 100 followers on my Facebook page, I could get like 1,000 particular views of that post. And I think LinkedIn still has that organic reach on LinkedIn for quality content is very high. But when you talk about how much effort a brand should put in, I think at the very least, the bare minimum effort they should be putting in is having a fully fledged LinkedIn company profile, which means you put in a cover image, a nice profile image, fully add in your about page, and then get your employees and your colleagues to actually connect to your company profile so that everyone knows that they work for your particular company. So once you have that basic in place, I think the next thing you could do is in terms of content, you can post articles from a company blog. I think that's something that's easy to do. You can post about your team members. So maybe you can have a spotlight and say, hey, this is our graphic designer, this is our copywriter, and feature them because that makes them feel appreciated as well. The other thing you could be looking at is posting events that you've attended as a company. So maybe one of your colleagues gave a talk at some event. Maybe somebody got mentioned in a particular magazine. So you can put all of that. And when you post all of these kind of content, it actually helps you build up some level of credibility. And if you want to go to a step higher, I would suggest coming up with a LinkedIn content strategy where you come up with a content calendar on the kind of content you want to post. And even if you look at our agency, I think we make it a point to post twice a week. And it's usually content that we take from the blog and we repurpose it into bite-sized 4-panel carousel posts, and then we put it up on LinkedIn for people to view. So I'd say, yeah, the basic level, set up a company profile. Slightly more advanced, you share pictures, you share content from different publications, your own blog. And then a slightly more advanced, you come out with a content strategy and you try and post at least twice a week.
That's very good. I think a very good recommendation to start off at least twice a week. And I think it's a very good perspective to look at LinkedIn right now as Facebook 8 years ago, which is very true, right? I was just sharing with you before, I think a few weeks back, that I had one post that really did 40,000 views.
Yep.
Because,
Yes.
it wasn't like one shot. It was like quite delayed. Like in fact, performed quite normally like all my other posts, like 1,000 odd views.
Yep.
So only after the after the fifth day, there was like certain traction. A sudden traction actually pushed it to just a balloon up. Like by lunch, it was 2,000 odd, and then 5,000. And by the end of the day, it was like 10,000 plus. By next day, it was 20,000 plus, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a good thing to look at LinkedIn right now due to the amount of organic you still get after so long. And I'm considered late to the LinkedIn game. Do you consider yourself late to the LinkedIn game?
I mean, I'd say I was early, but I think the way I'm late is because I rarely post content on my own personal profile. Though I guide people how to do it, I share it to companies and they have success using it. But myself personally, I'm still trying to get started, like trying to practice what I preach. So yeah, I'd say I'm late in that sense. But in terms of having a profile, I was early, and I knew that the platform can actually give you some good results. And speaking of that, right, Charmaine, I think if you've got the basics right and you start doing like what we were talking about, posting maybe at least twice a week. I think just recently, LinkedIn launched 2 new features, right? So they talked about LinkedIn events. So in the past, if I was doing like a marketing event, if I was going to do a social media workshop, I would go on to Eventbrite or go on to Facebook and then post my event there. And the thing about the Facebook audience is maybe they're not so relevant for what I'm posting. Now, the great thing about LinkedIn events is that I can create a event on LinkedIn itself with all of the details. and I can actually invite people in my network. So I can invite the people who are following my company page, or I can invite people that I'm connected to come for this event. And at the moment, it's not very cluttered in terms of events. So I think it's a good opportunity for businesses to look at it. The other thing that they can consider as well is LinkedIn Live. So LinkedIn has come up with, just like Facebook has Facebook Live, LinkedIn has come up with their own live streaming service. So anyone, I think right now there's an application process, but once you go through the application process, you can actually start broadcasting using LinkedIn Live as well, and building an audience on LinkedIn using your live streams. So maybe that's going to be a bit more advanced, so going into events and going into LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, and I actually applied when they first opened up, but I haven't heard back from them. Do you apply?
Yeah, I've applied, and I think I haven't heard back from them either, but they did mention at the point of application that there's a huge backlog because a lot of people are applying because, it's lockdown everywhere, and people are relying a lot more on webinars, a lot more on live streams to get the word out about their product, their service, and their knowledge. So I think it's a huge backlog. Hopefully we get a response soon.
Yeah, I do know of people in my network that actually got their accounts approved. And I think, those are two very important things to look at. I think the events, which I was very glad to see that function. The way that it operates, it looks like how it's like on Facebook groups. So you get to invite people who actually are in the group, compared to our Facebook business page, which we can only create events, but we can only include people in our friends network, right? Because
exactly.
We don't really add clients on Facebook.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 or 2, but it's a really low fraction and ratio the amount of clients we have on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for sharing those insights and pointers. So I think we covered a few things on what to post, types of contents to post, how often to post. You mentioned that as well. So these are from business perspective, and 2 posts a day, and a week. 2 posts a week, and you mentioned a few variations of what to feature, like your colleagues, and really just featuring them if they are being featured as well. What about as an individual? Do you think there are 2 types of individuals in the company. Usually, the first type is that they don't mind sharing. Another type feels that they have not set up their profile right on LinkedIn. So for them to post it's like additional work for them, and they might not even enjoy the whole process. Yeah. So how do you think, maybe from your perspective as a business, do you think there should be certain ways to encourage, maybe as a business owner, we should lead by example maybe, and also how can we encourage our fellow colleagues and staff to also have that social media presence on LinkedIn, sharing our posts, engaging with our corporate business profile on LinkedIn?
Got it. Of course, that's an excellent question. And one of the things that we try and do in our agency, right? So whenever we have someone new who joins, we actually have a LinkedIn SOP. So we tell them we put in all the best practices. We say, okay, you need to add a cover picture, you need to add a summary, you need to add your profile, and you need to write this little blurb about what the company is all about. You need to add in your skills. So we give them a step-by-step SOP to follow. Then we say, okay, add the HR manager, add this copywriter, add these graphic designers. So everyone they have to add. And at the end of it, we also say that the company is going to be posting these particular updates on, say, Tuesday and Thursday. And then we encourage them to reshare it, to like it at the very least, and to share it with their network if they find it is relevant. So for example, if you are in the design team and the article that was posted on LinkedIn was about UI UX, we encourage them to go like it, to go and reshare it. But then again, as you mentioned, right, LinkedIn it's a personal space. It's a personal platform. So we can only encourage as the company, as the management, but we can't compel people to do that. So that's when it comes to the company perspective. But when we think about as an employee, when we think about the competitiveness in the job market at this point of time, when you think about how you want to stand out as an employee, how do you want to stand out as an expert, or how do you want to be known in that particular niche that you work in, I think it's very important that you start posting on LinkedIn to build up some level of credibility and start boosting your personal reputation. So one of the things we tell our team to do is, if they find something that's interesting, if they read an interesting article, post it up. If they did something interesting, post it up. If they attended an event, post it up, you know. And the whole idea here is, again, to interact with others and to try and build up a personal brand of sorts on LinkedIn. Because in the competitive job market, if you like, for example, if you're a copywriter and you don't post your thoughts, you don't post any sort of activity, when you get compared to other copywriters, maybe you might miss out. You might miss out because the other person might be more active, more visible, and they might be able to access more opportunities. Because, you know, like LinkedIn also has the recruiter function, right? And recruiters go there and they're looking for, say, a copywriter. They'll go into the search function and they will search. And the guys who are, say, more active, their content might show up, their profile might show up above yours. And so it's necessary from a personal point of view to, from a professional point of view, to actually be very active on the platform. Hope that answered the question.
I think it's a very good perspective to have, especially like not just to look at it as work, but really like how does it benefit you at the end.
Yep.
A lot of, I think, staff, maybe they don't really see it that way. And it's a really good reminder.
I think one of the challenges is sometimes when I have my weekly meetings and I tell my team to, hey, why don't you guys be a bit more active on LinkedIn? And then they'll say, oh, I don't know what to post, right? I mean, I'm like, if you don't going to share company content, maybe you should post something like, oh, I don't know what to post. So one of the suggestions I have for them is, let's say they attend a webinar, they can take a screenshot of the webinar as it's happening, post it up, and share something that you learned from the webinar, and also appreciate the people who are either the hosts or the experts who are on the panel, and you just post it there. And even if they don't know you, because when you post it and you tag them, now what you've created is an opportunity for a connection and an opportunity for an interaction. And you don't know where that might lead you a few years down the road, you know, that one post and making that connection. So that's when it comes to webinars. The other thing I encourage them to do is, if they've read an article that's interesting, share it on LinkedIn, tag the journalist or tag the person who wrote it, tag the person who was featured in it, and tell them how this article impacted you or how you found it useful. And again, by showing people appreciation and posting it and tagging them, again, you create an opportunity for this connection, and this connection can be of value to you down the road. So yeah, that's one of the things I suggest. And when it comes to LinkedIn, there's also LinkedIn Learning. So our team has access to the LinkedIn Learning platform. And what I tell them to do is, when they take the course and they complete it and they get the certification, to post it up, add it to your certificates and certificate section in LinkedIn, and also talk about what you took away from that particular program. So I think these people are doing stuff on LinkedIn Learning, they're doing stuff on Udemy. So by posting it up, you're showing to your network that you are learning a lot, and you're also sharing with them why this particular course was of value. So if anyone in your network is considering it, they're going to really appreciate that post, and they might sign up for the same program. So yeah, those are some of the things that I suggest to my team when they say that they don't know what to post.
Actually, those are very good points, and I think many people will find it very helpful. So maybe that leads us to the next question about connections, since you tag people who actually wrote the article, or just giving them credits after the webinar and those screenshots. So let's talk about LinkedIn connections, because I'm sure everyone receives a lot of connections from a lot of people, and even yourself, you probably receive quite a number every single week. What is your suggestion? Should we add everyone who requests to be connected? Should we connect with everyone who we find that, hey, we are in the same industry? Should we just add other people? For me, personally, I'll just share that I don't do that. I don't actively look for people unless they have attended our workshops or we got to know each other at an event, at a conference. Yeah, and I whatever request I get, I don't add everyone as well.
I think there are two parts to this question. So the first is receiving connection requests. So I get quite a fair number of connection requests on a daily basis. One of the first things that I do is, how much effort did this person put in to connect with me? So, when you click on connect on LinkedIn, you have an opportunity to actually add a note like a personalized note to that person. So whenever I get a connect request that doesn't have a note, that's a red flag for me, because I feel that this person didn't put in any effort to look at my profile and to tell me how is it, what is the mutual connection, or what is the, why do they want to connect with me? You know, if you just give me a reason on why you want to connect, I'll be happy to connect. But if you don't put in that small little effort of adding a personal note, that's already a red flag for me. So that's the first thing. The second thing I look at is I go to the profile and I look at how many connections they have and how complete the profile is. Does he have a good picture? Has he written a summary? Has the person put in like their work experience, their skills? I want to see the completeness of the profile, because I think currently LinkedIn also has an issue with a lot of fake profiles. Yeah, there are a lot of fake profiles out there. So you need to be careful not to fake profiles in their account, because when you accept it, people in your network might also have received a connect request from that person, and they might also accept it. And then that might just lead to that fake profile getting even more connects. So yeah, so I look at the completeness of the profile. I look at whether or not there's a personal note before I accept a connect request. And then when I make a connect request to people, I'm actually different from you. So in the past, I used to only add people that I knew. But what I'm doing now is I actually reach out to people where I have some commonality with. So if they're marketing, if they're in the marketing space, if they've gone to, they've taken the same course as me. So for example, recently I did Squared Online. So I'm like connecting with everyone who was in the same cohort with me. Just so, because we've gone through the same experience, I think there is a platform for that connection to be built. And like what we were discussing earlier, right? I use LinkedIn for lead generation for my business. So I do connect with people trying to see whether there or not there's an opportunity where we could work together. So yeah, that's how I use it. So for me, when I try and make a LinkedIn request with someone, I write a personal note. I see how I can offer value to them. And then the other thing is, if I'm looking for that connection to try and get some business out of it, I usually ask a mutual connection for the introduction. So I'll ask someone that I know, who knows that person I want to connect with, and I ask them to make an introduction. And that actually works a lot better instead of just approaching someone cold.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights. I think it's helpful. I always tell my participants not to add anyone who adds them. And I think reason because they're not going to connect with your post, and it's going to affect, like for me, like even like for the post to go viral, it didn't take a lot of connections to do it. Like I only have 650 connections. And I think at the point in time when I posted that, I had less than that. I probably only had 620 something maybe. So I think that are a few good pointers, how much effort they did the research, and what did they say in the message, right? And I think ultimately whether or not they would actually be engaging with your post, I think those are things that are very important as well. Okay.
So which is why you need to be careful. Like if you're talking about post engagement, we need to be careful when we accept requests, right? Especially if it's a fake profile, because fake profiles are not unlikely to engage with your post. Earlier you mentioned that you don't add anyone. So if, let's say I wrote you a personal note, you would still not accept a connect request if the personal note is relevant and you don't know that person.
I did add some, but a lot I did not.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like a personal note, like for example, those that I've received are like I'm also in the marketing industry, and I thought it would be good for us to connect. I feel that it's still not like very personal. So
True. I agree.
And I tried adding a few, like they have never engaged with my posts, like they have never liked any of my posts or commented on anyone. So I find that there's no value in adding them, although like we are in the same industry, you know.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's.
I mean, if you look at statistics, right? I was just looking at before our call. I was looking at the statistics. There are 706 million LinkedIn profiles at this point of time. But if you look at monthly active users, it's only I think about 300 million. So and the people that I know who are not marketers, who are not recruiters, not many of them look at LinkedIn on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. So that's why maybe they are missing out on engaging with your post. And one of the things I'm seeing right now in terms of LinkedIn, right? I see a lot of posts that when I look at the post, I'm like, this post looks like it's more relevant for Facebook what is it doing on LinkedIn, you know? So when I see that and I see that too frequently from someone, I tend to unfollow their posts because I feel like what they're posting should be on Facebook, not on a professional networking platform like LinkedIn.
I think those are very good points, and I think a lot of times it's very difficult to tell, like, because they always tell us like, I don't know what else to post. And I think one of the things that I always tell people is that yes, you can you know, select some of your top best performing posts on Facebook or Instagram and put it on LinkedIn, but consider converting it to a PDF, like any form. Like it can be full square, it can be a 16:9 presentation, and so on. So those are my feedback and how I tell them to kind of put their posts on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of posting, right, I think one of the things I forgot to mention earlier is if you're a business, a lot of businesses, they have case studies or they have blogs that they write on a regular basis. I would suggest like a low hanging fruit is to repurpose those blog posts and publish it as an article on LinkedIn. So when you go to LinkedIn, you can actually post an article, right? Or publish an article. So you can actually just repurpose content from your blog for LinkedIn, post it, and then it will get shared with your entire LinkedIn connections. So that might be something easy to do, or even a case study that you have, like a case study from a client. You can actually post it up as an article on LinkedIn. That's an additional tip that I forgot to share earlier.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, like, there's so many things about LinkedIn, and I think with this call, there are many things that we have already covered. But I think, yeah, LinkedIn articles are one good way. In fact, your first article is going to be pushed very much by LinkedIn. And I think the vast variation of my first and second article is like, I don't know, 190 views versus like less than 40 views. So
Yeah,
I think that you really have to like have a very good first article. Yeah, and don't be afraid to update your article as well.
I think with all of these things, right? I mean, even I'm guilty of it. We all have a fear in terms of posting stuff. We do like, oh, I don't know what to post, or I don't know whether it's going to perform. I think you should I think the more effort you put to try and create something in your area of expertise, the more you write, over time you'll get better and better at it. And over time you build up an audience because everyone has their own unique voice. Everyone has their own unique perspective and everyone has their own unique experience. You know, there's no two people are alike, no two experiences are alike. So it's a matter of just getting started and taking the action, and you just get better as time goes by.
Yes, and I agree. It's about just getting started, you know, putting yourself out there and just, you know, reminding yourself to improve, right? If you posted something you thought it wasn't that good, then when is your next article or post going to be that, and what are you going to post? What are you going to talk about? How can you improve, right? The engagements, are you going to ask questions? I think that's another thing. I think a lot of times we are like just posting and telling people. So I think if we start asking, that's when the engagements come in. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the next thing. Do you have any LinkedIn tools or common mistakes that you have seen business owners make that you'd like to share?
Common mistakes I'll say on people's individual profiles, one of the common mistakes people make is you don't write up. So when you go to LinkedIn, one of the big pieces that you have is a personal summary, which tells who you are, what your career interest is, what's your journey so far, what's your experience, right? Most people write like very little, or they write about themselves in the third person. So for example, if you look at my summary, I could have written is Razy is a marketer, blah, blah, blah. Razy is, you know, it's like I'm writing it in the third person. And when you read it again, when someone reads it, they can't connect with it. So if I were to write it as I enjoy this. When you read it, you feel a lot more connected. It's a lot more personable. So the first mistake people usually make is they write about themselves in the third person, which reads weirdly, and I can't feel that connection with them. So yeah, so if you go to a LinkedIn profile right now, and you feel
I do that too.
It's a common mistake. Yeah, I can share an article with you about how that impacts someone's ability to connect with you.
Right. I think for some, I wrote it that way. Like Charmaine started her first web design agency.
Yeah. Okay. I think when you started with I, then it becomes a lot more personable. and I feel is a lot more human, and I want to like connect with you.
Right.
Yeah. And then if you are in the business development, if you're in the sales space, even if you're a business owner and entrepreneur, I think you need to put in like a call to action in your summary. So you can say, hey, if you want to have a coffee regarding blah, 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 you put in your email address there. And I know some people even put in their phone numbers there to get connected. So maybe having a call to action on how, once someone has read your summary and they are on your profile, how can you contribute to that person who's on your profile? Are you going to be giving them a free consultation? Are you going to be able to give them a mentoring session, a coaching session? So you can put all of that. And I think especially in these times, people are looking for that connect. Sometimes people just want someone to talk to in their industry whom they feel they can help. And if you don't have that, there's a bigger barrier to cross to try and ask for that help. But if you have it, the person will be more likely to reach out to you and say, hey, Charmaine, actually, I run a small business and I'm having these challenges. You mentioned here you have a 20-minute free consultation. I'd love to take up your offer on that. So it's very helpful. So that's another thing that I would suggest for people to do on their profiles.
I'll add your LinkedIn profile in the description as well. So
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, if anyone wants me to look at their profile and give some feedback or some suggestions, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
Other common mistakes, like I was sharing earlier, is posting content that should be more on Facebook, on LinkedIn. So like, sometimes irrelevant memes that are funny. I mean, of course, if you put in professional, like memes that are about the workplace, I can understand. But if it's just a meme or a story that was more that you took from Facebook and you posted on LinkedIn, I think that's a common mistake. I think people don't appreciate that. And if you have a connection like me, I would unfollow someone who keeps posting things like that. That's from the individual's perspective. The other thing that I think a lot of people do is it's very easy to like a post. So right now LinkedIn has like, celebrate, insightful, all these different reactions, right? So it's very easy to do that. So if you go to any post on your feed, you see that the number of likes is really high, but the number of comments are usually quite few. So if you want to stand out, so let's say you're trying to get someone's attention, or if you want to get a company's attention, you could be the person who makes an insightful comment. I'm not saying you go and comment on every single one of their posts, but a way to stand out among all of those people who have liked is to like it and also to leave a comment. So that can actually give you an edge, especially if you're a job seeker, if you're in sales. You can use this sparingly, and I think it'll be very helpful from a personal perspective. The other thing I think people are not doing a lot of from the business perspective is a lot of businesses are not using LinkedIn for their advertising or their marketing sort of functions. So if you go to LinkedIn, you actually have something called lead generation forms. So if, let's say you're selling a software and you want to get more leads for that particular software, you can actually create a lead generation ad. And what happens is when someone clicks on it, it auto-fills their profile details, their name, their phone number, email address. And when they hit submit, that becomes a lead that someone in your sales team can follow up on. One of the misconceptions is, that's what you see on the screen. So you can generate really high quality leads because LinkedIn allows you to target someone based on their industry, their work title, even the company that they work for. So it can be very helpful in terms of getting leads. The other thing that I hear a lot from some of the small businesses that I speak to is they feel that LinkedIn is a very costly platform, and because of that, they don't want to invest too much on it. If you look at the cost per engagement on LinkedIn, it varies about $7 per engagement. So I'd say $1,000 budget is good to start with to try and get some leads using lead gen forms on LinkedIn. The other one that is very popular is InMails, but I feel InMails allow you to send a message into someone's LinkedIn inbox, and it's a great way to prospect for people. And when you're in their inbox, they're most likely to read it. It's a great tool, but usually when it comes to my clients, I recommend them to either do the lead gen forms or even to do sponsored content. So I think a few slides before, maybe 2 slides before, There's if we just go 2 slides before. So yeah, if you look at this particular slide, what we actually encourage our clients to do is to come up with traffic ads. So again, I mean, before you even do anything on LinkedIn, you need to figure out what's your objective, right? You need to know, am I here for awareness? Do I want more people in a particular industry to know about my product? So for example, what you see an example there is a wealth advisory firm. So they know that their target audience is going to be largely on LinkedIn. So they're targeting the C-suite, VPs and whatnot. So one of the posts that they ran was an awareness building ad. So they talk about who they are and what value they can provide. And then once you're done with your awareness part, the next touch point can be a conversion ad. So you want that person to sign up for your webinar. So if you look at one of the screenshots that's there, is we are promoting the webinar. So they can actually sign up for the webinar right there. And then you capture the lead. The other one is you can put up one of your brochures. And if someone signs up and clicks on that brochure, that becomes the lead that you can follow up on. So when it comes to LinkedIn, you need to figure out, as a business, you need to figure out, do you want awareness? Do you want conversions? And based on that, use the different advertising solutions that they have to meet those business objectives of yours. So, and like I mentioned earlier, right, it's not that costly. It's about $1,000, can get you in front of a very high value audience. And it's especially useful if you are a B2B business. So I've seen clients who are in wealth advisory, who are in insurance, who are in even in coaching, resume writing. They use LinkedIn as a platform to get in front of their target audience.
Right. And I think these are very interesting points, because one thing that you brought up that's very interesting is because a lot of our clients, right, or a lot of clients out there, they might want to manage it on their own. They're only posting one form and one type. And I think you just covered a few types like lead gen, just awareness, and even a webinar, and even like the carousels, brochures and things like that. So, and this keyword here is that you said brand awareness. And I think that's very important, because if people don't know you, they will not like you, they don't trust you, and they will not buy from you. And
exactly.
and I think these are things, very important things that very common mistake, in fact, made by a lot of business owners. They just do one type of ad. They don't even bother testing video ads in their, So, and you have another slide here. Do you want to elaborate?
So this slide is the basic marketing funnel, right? So when you look at a customer's journey for your product or your service, it's always awareness. When they are in the I want to know phase. So maybe they don't know about your business at all. Maybe let's say you're launching a new resume writing service. There's so many established resume writers out there. Nobody knows that you're also offering this service. So you need to build up some awareness about your offer. So how you do that is on LinkedIn, you can put up a post where you share your tips on how to write a resume. You share the best practices. And then maybe you can even do a video breakdown of a particular resume. And hopefully that gets picked up and people share it. And you can also offer a free, like a coaching or free session for someone. So you need to build up the awareness. And once the awareness is done, you can then look into the consideration phase. So consideration phase is when someone is choosing. I want to choose the right resume writer for my resume. And then I'm going to look at choosing you. So maybe that can come in terms of you can create an ad for lead generation, or you can even create an ad somewhat awareness, because you want to be in the consideration list for that particular target audience. And then one of the things that earlier we were talking about what to post on LinkedIn, right? Advocacy. So if you look at the bottom part of the funnel, advocacy essentially is using success stories of your existing clients and using them to show that you have done a really good job in your service offering. So if you're a resume writer, you can get your clients to actually share some testimonials, and then you can use their testimonials and then post it on LinkedIn and say, hey, look, these are all the people who have used my service, and they're all advocating how good a service this is. And that again builds up into your awareness phase. So whenever you want to run any sort of an ad campaign or any sort of a social campaign, you need to just look at this basic marketing funnel and look at which stage of the customer journey are you trying to target?
I think this buyer's journey is very important because a lot of clients just jump right into the the purchase part where they want to advertise and they want people to buy right away, and
Yes.
it's time and it takes it to be integrated. I think the way that you wrote out your buyer's journey does give a bigger perspective on what are the other things that they need to look at. It's not just social media, it's not just LinkedIn.
Yes.
They need to consider what are the other things that are going to give them confidence, brand perception, and things like that, and understanding of what types of products and services you offer as a business, right? And why they should consider you compared to your competitors. So I think a buyer's journey is always a good thing to look at and really brainstorm. In fact, we share this buyer's journey a lot in our strategy calls with our clients and even in our workshop. And I think it's something that we can dive in like for half a day, one full day. We can brainstorm for many days or even a week with marketing teams and really just ironing out. And everyone should always be revisiting their customer and buyer's journey, once in a while to see if anything has changed, right? To reassess
Exactly.
the kind of like awareness. Like for example, even like when TikTok came about, right? A lot of people were just like wanting to jump in, wanting to have that first what they call it, early adopter kind of following and just that leveraging on that growth on the social media platform. But they should ask themselves whether their customers are there, right? And at one point when TikTok first started, I think it was just about dance. And
Exactly.
I think only recently they started to focus more on educational videos. But of course, if we know about educational videos, it has to be long form. But I mean, if you are an educator, a coach, and you have insights to share and you can keep it under a minute, I think it's a good platform to try because they are pushing educational content.
True. Yeah. Actually, following up on your earlier on one of the points you made, right, where I see a lot of businesses, they go immediately for the bottom of the funnel. So like what you're saying, they create content or they run ads immediately to get a purchase. But then you need to be aware. You need to know, do people know your business? Do they already have awareness? So if I don't know about your business, if I've never heard of you before, for me to cross and buy from you, the barrier is a lot higher. So I think you need, like what you mentioned, there needs to be some level of awareness ads, build the awareness. And then when you run the purchase and the bottom of the funnel ads, your conversions can be a lot higher. Speaking of TikTok, right? One of the things I've been noticing is a lot of chiropractors use TikTok. And what they share like really helpful videos on, like, they say, oh, you have back pain. Let me show you how to fix it. And then they'll give you some stretches that you can do at home and fix the back pain. I actually saw a Japanese language school in Singapore using TikTok as well. It was one of the first few accounts that they suggested to me when I set up my TikTok account. And it's a Japanese language school teaching you simple few words every day. And I think they have a very good, decent following on TikTok. So that's a smart way, like educational content is doing pretty well on that platform.
Yeah, recently I saw like even a dentist trying to tell you like how to fix bad breath and how to brush. Firstly, I think most of the time, I think clients have to pay attention to whether their audiences are on TikTok and the type of contents that they create. Because initially we have this group of insurance and property agents that want to go on TikTok, and we were like, are you sure your audience are on TikTok? Because you're gonna embarrass yourself, number one, right? Because at that point of time, it was just dance videos, and then they were just dancing and just flashing the flash cards out. To me, I find that firstly, you have to consider whether or not you are able to create that type of content. If you're a good dancer, then sure, why not? Okay, and if you cannot, and at that point of time, that audience on the platform are not your audience, you're basically wasting your time, your effort, and energy creating all these things. And then at the end of the day, you say and you conclude that TikTok or social media marketing does not work, which is not a fair conclusion, right?
Exactly.
Because you went in, yes, you are early adopter, you went in early, but you went in at the wrong time because at that point of time, the platform was not looking at your type of content, educational or really pushing other types of content. So I think for LinkedIn, for social media, especially B2B, like you mentioned quite a number of times, they do have to look at LinkedIn. And I think when you mentioned $1,000 budget, I wanted to add in that a lot of people would find that $1,000 is a lot of money. And one of the things, maybe you can think of what is one thing you would tell your client when they say that, $1,000 is a lot of money. What will you say to this group of clients? Because typically what I tell them is, if you hire someone, okay, from websites to social media, I have different stories that I'll tell them. But if you hire someone and you pay, say, this salesperson even like $1,800, $2,000 as a base salary, and then whatever else they do is a commission base, right? So that the starting point is already at least $1,800, $2,000 base salary, right? Whether or not they bring you leads is another thing. But with LinkedIn, when you do it right, of course, there's another group that like to do it themselves and then they do it wrongly and then they don't get the leads. So that is another problem altogether. But if they put in $1,000 and they get, like you mentioned, $7 per lead on average, some people, maybe they just started out, maybe they are on a higher range, like $10, $12. So if we divide out $10, easy math, you get 100 leads. All these 100 leads, typically they are already qualified because of the positions they hold and the industries that they are in, very relevant groups of people that we are targeting the ad for. And out of these 100 leads, I will tell them as well, okay, so salesperson, 2,000 base salary, so $1,000 for this ad makes sense, right? And then I'll tell them 100 leads, out of these 100 leads, how many can you convert? So it really depends on your sales funnel process on how many you can lead. To me, I think out of 100, you should be able to close at least 5 to 10%. Is that a fair number?
I mean, the first story is something that I would tell a client as well. I mean, especially in the past, I would tell them that, hey, look, if you hire a salesperson to do all of these things, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more costly. But then these days, what I actually help them do is I say, okay, we actually come up with a media plan. We tell you that, hey, so for your product, this is the target audience. This is who we're going to be targeting. And then we do a projection of how many people are going to see that ad, what is the click-through rate going to be, and what is the conversion rate based on industry benchmarks. So if your industry maybe is a 2.5% conversion rate. So then based on that, we'll tell you, okay, this is the number of leads we're going to get for you. From $1,000 to get 100 leads, I think is magical. So maybe you'll get maybe 10, 20 if you're lucky, if the offer is compelling. But then again, then you have to see what is your ROI going to be. So like from those 10 to 20, how many can you close? And what is the ticket? What is the value of whatever that you're selling to them? And also think about the customer lifetime value. And think about what is your cost per lead or what's your customer acquisition cost from other platforms. And then you see whether or not spending that $1,000 to acquire, say, that 20 leads, of which maybe you close 3, see whether or not that makes sense in terms of cost per acquisition and also in terms of what you're selling. So if you're, let's say, I give you the software company's example, right? So if they spend $1,000 a month, their software is worth $7,000 for one license. So if they convert 1 or 2 people, that's already a very good ROI, for example, and I'm sure they convert more. So then that's something that you need to look at. So if you say thousands are very expensive, you should get your agency or get your marketing team to actually come up with a projection of what the potential lead is going to be and what the potential conversions are going to be and what's the potential ROI. And you run the campaign, spend, because everything when it comes to digital is an experiment. Run the campaign for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then see how well it performs. And if it doesn't meet your expectations, if you feel like, hey, it's not getting the result that I want, you tweak it and it still doesn't meet it, then maybe you can try some other method. So I'd say like use it as a $3,000 or $6,000 experiment, $1,000 a month, and see what you get out of it.
Right. So I think okay. So earlier the math was a bit very optimal and
very optimistic, yeah.
On the cheaper end. Okay, so let's be more realistic. I think most people when they first start, probably per lead is $20 to $40. So 1,000 divided by 40 is about 50 leads. So out of 50 leads, is it 50? No, 25.
25
leads. Out of 25 leads, in terms of percentage, like customer lifetime value is another very big topic altogether, right?
Yes.
If this customer, yes, my products are, say, a few $1,000s, but this customer has a chance of purchasing with me, say on a retainer basis, right? How much am I willing to put in money? But I think with the number of 25, if we say a 10% conversion rate, that will be 2 customers. And if let's say each customer is let's say 2,000 is let's say they are $1,500 retainer client, right? Then the ROI is like, you put in $1,000, you get 2 clients that pay you $1,500, that's $3,000. And then it's on a retainer basis. So usually even retainer clients, I think, even though if they don't want to commit 12 months, they commit 3 months, it's already 4,500 times 2 is $9,000 with the $1,000 that you put in. So I think it's kind of like some math that they can kind of think about when they do social media advertising, even for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think those are very good pointers, and those are the questions that we have set up today to really discuss and hear you out on your point of view for LinkedIn. And I think we have a lot of pointers that Razy has shared with us. I forgot to share that actually when we first met, Razy was I think 2012, 2013. We met, so at a co-working space, Regus, right? At that point of time, both of us were using in Tampines most of the time. I think one of the things was that you I mean, I'm very different from you, is that you enjoy meeting people and your networking, you're very strong in that point of view. And maybe just to plug on your expertise on that right now because of COVID, like to be able to meet in large gathering or even attending networking events, do you have any pointers for people who are trying to grow their network on LinkedIn, since face-to-face interaction is a bit of a challenge right now for government national level that we are not allowed to anyways. But do you have any pointers for people who are trying to grow their network and really use LinkedIn as a platform? What can they do besides what we talked about, which was dropping a personal note and letting people know why you like to get connected, and maybe any other pointers from you before we end the LinkedIn session today?
That's a really good question. So I'll suggest some of the suggestions I'd have, right, is if you put up your thoughts, you share your content, you put up articles, what you're doing is you're creating opportunities for people to see what you're good at and giving them an opportunity to connect with you or reach out to you. So that's one way to do some networking on LinkedIn. I think the second one, which is very underutilized, is asking your mutual connections for introduction. So that's something that you can do as well. Because I'd say large networking events are not going to be coming back anytime soon. So we need to adapt to this new normal, right? So we need to start reaching out to people on LinkedIn, starting to create content to give people opportunities to interact with us. And like earlier I mentioned, if you show appreciation, so if you see Charmaine's video and you want her to, you want to get connected with her, you can leave a comment on her YouTube video, or you can leave a comment on her LinkedIn post. And what will happen is now Charmaine will be like, oh, who's this person who commented? And then that creates an opportunity for you to get connected to Charmaine, for example. So that's some of the tips that I would suggest. Because I think, like, Charmaine, you've done so many videos and you've done so many LinkedIn posts. How many people of the 650 that you're connected to have stepped forward and showed some appreciation for your content, or said that they have actually learned something? Is it a lot? Is it a big number?
Those who connect with me on LinkedIn so far, they haven't told me that they've seen my videos. But for some of our participants who sign up for my courses, either at my agency level or at Institute for Adult Learning, they do say like they appreciate the content. But with this group of people, because they already attend our workshop, so I do add them on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
For I think in terms of the number of people who have consumed the content, I don't think, not many.
Exactly. So yeah, so if let's say someone who's watching this video right now has never attended Charmaine's workshops or training sessions, and you want to get connected with Charmaine, what you do is you leave a comment and you say, hey, what you learned from this entire session, and you show some appreciation for the content that she's put up. She's definitely going to notice you, and that's going to create an opportunity for a connection to be formed. and things can happen. So I'd say in this particular time to network, that's one way to network, to show appreciation for people's work, because I think most of the time we don't get that much appreciation for all of the hard work that we put in. So if you do that, it actually helps you stand out among all of the from all of the hundreds of people who are already connected with her on LinkedIn. So I'd suggest that. I think those are some really good tips to get started.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing those tips. I think those are very insightful tips, which is leaving a thoughtful comment rather than talking about yourself. Like there are so many people who like to talk about themselves, post about their business, what's the product and services, but they fail to see another point of view about social media and really like for people to pay attention, right? Because so many people like your post, the ratio of you paying attention is much lesser than a thoughtful comment. So I think those are things that you can start doing to network with other people and just to show up on people's feed and showing that you actually care about their content before you add a connection, right? And if you say like, I've seen your post, this particular video, it helps people to get connected with you, and also that they already saw this person commenting thoughtful comments on their posts, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or even our YouTube videos that you're watching right now. So once again, thank you so much, Razy, for taking your time out today to share your thoughtful insights and the slides that you have prepared for us today. And if you have any questions, remember to drop a comment below. I'm going to add both Razy and my LinkedIn profile. So if you have watched this video and you'd like to get connected with us, you know what to do right now. And we hope to see you in our next video. If you have any questions, remember to drop a comment below. Share this video with a friend if it has been helpful. And we look forward to seeing you at our next video.
Thanks, Charmaine.
Thanks, Razy.